Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Jason and Jamie. Jamie, crazy story that we've been talking about for the last month or so. Now there's big things are happening with Jonathan Majors. I was just talking to producer Wild before we came on. Jonathan Majors was set up to be one of the biggest stars in the world. He obviously did the Creed 3 movie opposite Michael B. Jordan, and he was going to be he was in the Ant-Man and the most recent Ant-Man movie, and he was slated to be the centerpiece, the center villain of the Marvel universe going forward. We're talking about, being a focal point of the biggest movies in the world. And then 4 weeks ago, he gets into this incident in the back of a taxi cab or an Uber or some sort of rideshare vehicle where he allegedly he does get into a physical altercation with a woman, allegedly harms her. And now, for some reason, which we'll try to speculate and give some rationale for, things are really turning against him now. He's losing everything.
Yeah, it's very interesting. When his lawyer first came out, she was very confident that the video was going to come out. Everyone was going to see this was not as it seemed, and he'd be vindicated. So this was probably a month now since she came out and said that. It has been radio silent. No video has been released. No other details emerged. Something is going on the inner circle, though, because now people are dropping him left and right. Everybody
all of a sudden 4 weeks later.
Yes.
Okay,
everyone kind of stood by. His manager was there. His PR was there. He still has an agent. But in the past 2 days, he's been dropped by his manager and his PR team, which is huge. That means they know something we don't know, and they don't want to be a part of it anymore. Not only that, he was also dropped by, he was going to go to the Met Gala and represent Valentino. Valentino now wants no part of it. He is no longer welcome at the Met Gala with them. There's really only room for speculation.
And perhaps most alarming, according to Deadline, he's been dropped from a movie that he was scheduled to make called The Man in My Basement, a Walter Mosley novel adaptation. And, it's one thing for your management group to drop you. It's another thing for Valentino not to want you. But he's now losing movie roles.
He's losing movie roles. He still has his agent, huge WME, huge, like the top agency.
But you think that might be short-lived?
I think by end of day,
wow,
we're talking that he's going to be on his own.
So we can only speculate what's happened, but we know something has happened because all of a sudden, after a few weeks of nobody talking about this, all of these different people, organizations, projects are lining up to dismiss him. It's possible, look, we will know more soon. It's possible that the video has surfaced. It's possible that he's tried to get out in front of it by his PR team going to these different folks and saying, this is what you're going to see. It's possible that he agreed to step aside, from the movie because he knew that this was something he wanted to get out in front of. It's really sad. I don't know what to do with all this.
No matter what happened, you're watching somebody's life and career crumble before your eyes.
And maybe he's getting the justice coming to him because he was awful to this woman. We just don't know.
Yeah.
So if we go back, remember the allegation. So what happened is that he and this woman are in this car. She gets out of the car and she goes to police and alleges that he had harmed her physically. Mm-hmm. She has some injuries on her neck, and some bruising. We first hear about this, and then he quickly comes out with a statement on behalf, as people do, come out with a statement saying it's not as it seems. The woman has actually twice now recanted her allegations against him.
And they said the story was different than hers because they said he is the one who called 911 on her,
right? Because
he was worried she was a harm to herself.
Yes, and they also say that there's going to be a video that will emerge that will vindicate him.
Where is the video?
His attorneys in the next day or so release text messages that she had sent him, which they tried to portray as vindicating him, as saying that it didn't happen. The text message, they misread that. The text messages just didn't, to the public, say what his people wanted them to say. Mm-hmm. They seemed to suggest that although there was an altercation, she was willing to forgive him for that.
Yeah, a lot of people took it more of like a battered woman syndrome.
Well, that's the way it came off. I
Yeah.
mean, regardless of what was truly intended by her, the way it came off was a classic, like, you hurt me, but I love you and I don't want your career to end. Therefore, I'm willing to say whatever you need me to say to make this go away. And I was assured there'd be no criminal charges against you for this.
And have there been? Like
No, he was
what's
he was initially arrested.
Yeah.
So he was arrested based on charges, but no, prosecutors have not brought a case yet. And we talked about it. It's very difficult for prosecutors to bring a case when the complaining witness is not cooperative. But it's not impossible. It happens in domestic violence. Obviously, you see a lot of situations, awful, much more awful than this, where a wife will, for example, be battered over a long period of time, but will continue to refuse to cooperate, and prosecutors will come in and because they should, and go after the husband in those situations. Anyways, that's not the case here. By all accounts, this was a one-time incident. Certainly not justifying it at all, but it's not like a battered woman syndrome kind of long period of time. But nevertheless, prosecutors could bring a charge against him. What we haven't seen, what we were assured we were going to see by his lawyer, was a video. She said, the lawyer did, that there was a video that would vindicate him, and we just haven't seen it.
We haven't seen the video.
And that's the glaring omission.
And so he is such a rising star, but not even to mention what he has like lined up ahead.
Yeah.
That studios have to be scrambling of like what's going on. He already filmed all of his scenes for the upcoming season of Loki. He is supposed to play Dennis Rodman in a huge Lionsgate movie. He's in a new Spike Lee movie. So
he's the hottest young actor, arguably in the world.
Yeah.
He is scorching hot, and this just, to your point. I mean, we talked about it in the context of Jamie Foxx falling ill. And Jamie Foxx is, in a different stratosphere of fame, but Jamie Foxx, because he's no longer able to perform, so many different projects are shelved. So many different people who were banking on their employment on these various projects who had already been retained are now shelved and out of work. It's on a lesser scale, but the same sort of thing happening here. These studios are scrambling to replace Jonathan Majors, and yes, he's not of nearly Jamie Foxx's ilk or fame,
well,
so they
not
can't
been around that
replace
long.
him.
Jamie Foxx is much older,
right? But it's a big deal that these companies have to deal with.
Do you think that these people saw something that we haven't seen, or do you think maybe they had a deadline and they say you clean this up by?
It's my speculation that I'm fully speculating. I know nothing.
Yeah, we know nothing.
That his people have gone to the management and said, "This is what's about to come out."
Got it.
And we want to get ahead of it because we don't want. When we're trying to preserve as many relationships as we can, we don't want you to feel blindsided. Here's what you're going to see.
The Valentino thing kind of put the nail in the coffin for me, because why are we even worried about the Met Gala yet? Like, they're building the suit, who cares?
Yeah.
But in the way it was written, that they mutually parted ways. I don't know why you would mutually part ways with going to the biggest event of the year.
When is the Met Gala?
Usually in May.
In May. Oh, so it's
coming
a month
up,
away.
but it's not. There's not giant grand signs of like Jonathan Majors for Valentino. It's quietly gone away.
Right. Yeah. It's a sad situation no matter what happened. Obviously sad for the woman if she was victimized, and also sad for him if
everything about it is
it
terrible.
was blown out of proportion or whatever. But it's really awful. More information being revealed about Aaron Carter's death. An autopsy reveals his cause of death was Xanax and huffing, which led to his drowning in the bathtub.
Yeah, his mom and his fiance had said that they thought there was possibly foul play. We actually got a statement from Aaron Carter's ex-fiance. She says, "The results of the autopsy are not closure for me. It claims death by drowning, but also adds he was wearing a T-shirt and necklace in the bathtub, which doesn't make sense. Why would he be in a bathtub with clothes on? I am still in shock and still miss Aaron every day. I don't understand the chain of events, and this report only has us asking more questions."
I got to tell you, she's obviously grieving, and my heart certainly goes out to her. And when you're grieving, you see things a certain way.
Grasp at straws.
And you grasp at things. But asking a rhetorical question about why he was wearing a T-shirt and necklace in the bathtub, and she's saying it doesn't make sense, it makes total sense for somebody who's completely in the throes of addiction and is using hardcore prescription and non-prescription drugs. Who knows? I mean, you and I have certainly been drunk enough times to know that when you're high, you do stupid things, or intoxicated, you do stupid things like wear shirts in bathtubs.
Sure. I mean, the necklace, like I wear jewelry in the shower all the time, so that's just
Right.
completely irrelevant.
Right. So, according to the report, he took prescription pills and huffed before his death, according to autopsy reports. Do you understand huffing? Do you have a good?
No, I don't know if it's maybe something when you're trying to like get off harder drugs.
Yeah.
It's just such an odd left turn.
For someone with the drug history that he has
Yes.
had, yeah.
And maybe it's their way of like a California sober, when
Yeah,
like, oh, I
yeah.
only drink wine.
Yeah.
Well, it's still alcohol. But,
Right.
no, I find that very odd. And then on top of already doing the Xanax, I suppose it's a different kind of high, but from
Yeah.
my understanding, it doesn't last long. You have to continuously do it.
Yeah, so the report says that he became, quote, incapacitated while in the bathtub due to the effects of the drugs and the huffing, and that he slipped under the water and drowned. Multiple cans of this compressed air, it's called Surf On, this compressed air were found in the bedroom and the bathroom in which he died. They found several prescription bottles in the home. Again, the fiance, her grief is a lot, and you forgive her for whatever. But I just think that everything makes sense.
Everything makes sense, and I don't know what other further investigation needs to happen to give them the peace they need. It seems pretty open, close,
Yeah. There was the thing that I remember no water was found in his lungs, so there was belief he had actually died of the overdose and then slipped under. That's not the finding of the coroner. They found that he slipped under and therefore drowned. There was all sorts of speculation, as you mentioned at the top, that he may have been the victim of some sort of foul play. And
Well, he did. They did go through his phone and they saw that a text that he owed somebody $800.
right.
It doesn't seem like it would. It still seems like something that happened to him. It was an accident. I am a little confused. So Aaron's family originally said that there was no water in the lungs, as you mentioned, but is the coroner changing what he said?
I think I think that was based on preliminary findings, and this is more thorough. I think drowning is by definition getting water in the lungs.
Yeah.
And so clearly, that finding was reversed after the autopsy was done, and they found what they found. So his death has been officially ruled accidental. No effort by him to commit suicide or anything along those lines. No foul play was found. There was a real bit of controversy that came out when the story first broke, because immediately thereafter his mother released really gruesome photographs, not of the body but of the bath and the fetid water that was there, and she said it was really an effort to sort of bring out the idea that it was a crime scene. There were crumpled up towels and all sorts of other things.
And the Aaron Carter diehard fans were very upset because they knew that Aaron and his mother Jane did not have a good relationship. They did not speak. It was a really messy past. So for her to then come and air out all the dirty laundry after he died was just
and try to do it under the guise of I want the truth about my
justice
son.
for my son. And it was like, well, where have you been for the past 35
right.
years?
Although maybe that's too hard. It's I don't know. I don't want to take sides in that whole thing. It's hard when you have a kid who's constantly battling with substance abuse and everything else. But that's not to let her off the hook for anything that she might have done. Anyway, it's the conclusion to an incredibly sad, tragic life and death of Aaron Carter. I think there's a lot of people who think he's pretty talented. His brother Nick obviously had a tremendous amount of success. And Aaron seemed poised to have a similar career, but he just, when you suffer from addiction, you suffer from addiction.
Yeah,
and
I hope just that his ex-fiance and his mom can now let it go and let him rest in peace and let's stop tarnishing what was left of his reputation and a little dignity. It's done.
Yeah, exactly. All right, on that sad note, we're going to say goodbye. We will see you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks very much.